Got a project for today.
What up, guys? Coming at you with an update video here on the Z.
Got new spring rates, front and rear. So right now the car is true coilover on BC Racing coilovers. It is 5K rear, 10K front.
For a long time, this car's had a lot of like body roll problems. I don't know, but at the last event, I kind of could really feel it in the old Nedco lot. So I'll just throw like a couple pictures up here. We're going to be swapping spring rate, and I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to go about doing it.
What we're going to do is take some calipers and measure at all four corners from the top of the wheel to the fender.
Write down those measurements or record them. I'm gonna just record them on video.
The car is aligned at the ride height it's at. Yeah, let's change these springs.
Definitely get a set of calipers if you don't already. These are great.
Start driver's front. Now this is an unfortunate situation. So this might be a little bit of an issue, but I'm going to measure off of this point here. Yeah, I think that was me crashing into Mike Panciocco a while ago.
I think I just hit his wheel. Yeah, it was just like literally plastic dip. I hit you on your wheel, I think. Yeah. No, we're good. Yeah, no, I'm good. We'll keep going. Yeah, there's no damage. I love that.
So we've got for the front, want to make sure that's straight up and down. So that's at 92 point, we'll call it 92.8 millimeter. Driver front. Driver rear, we've got 79.9. Passenger rear, make sure this is straight up and down. We got 80 point, we'll just call that 80. And passenger front, we've got 88.29. So the best way I found to get this car on my lift is to back it up, and then we're gonna jack up the back so we can get the front under there and the rear. This is something you guys might have an issue with. I haven't tried doing it on the front yet, but works better on the rear for me. Get these limiter work gloves on. First we're gonna get the truck bar off. All right, now we're gonna get these three pieces of hardware out here. You guys cannot see this one back here. 1, 2, and 3. These should be, I think these are 12 mil. For safety's sake, leave at least one in, and we'll make that be the easiest one to get out. Because we're gonna want something kind of holding it on. You don't need a lift to do this, you know. Definitely can just do this on jack stands. It'd probably be a lot easier, to be honest. Checking, yeah, this coilover just dropped down a little bit, so it's good to keep a little bit of thread holding on the tops. I'm just gonna do this side. I'm gonna show you guys at least my process, you know, and how I go about doing it. So yeah, we've left some thread on so, you know, the suspension doesn't droop any farther than it should. And then now what we're gonna do is get the bottom bolt out of this coilover. I have a angle kit, so the bolt I have is a nylon nut, and it is typically a lower grade. They're not typically meant to be reused, so do keep that in mind. These do tend to strip out. These are a wear item, but they do lock very well. So I'm gonna try and reuse this one, but I am gonna source some new ones because that nylon nut isn't necessarily reusable with how it is, but we're gonna do that. There we go. I'm gonna try and lift up this knuckle so weight comes off of the bolt, and then this knuckle may drop down, but it shouldn't drop super far down. Probably should have undid the sway bar end link, which I'm gonna do that real quick, just so either side is not connected and it's gonna be easier to undo it. So right now I'm just disconnecting the sway bar so we can get either side independent from each other. That way the LCA will drop down and I can get the coilover out of there. There we go. There we go. All right, now that suspension is gonna drop down. And it should on the other side because both sides are disconnected now. So we only need to undo one side. So now this side is unloaded from the other side. What I'm gonna do is just kind of push that down a little bit, and we're gonna take this nut off the top. Actually, before we do that, make sure everything is unclipped from this coilover. So the ABS lines, if you guys still have those, the electrical ABS sensor lines, take those off from the coilover as well. We need to take the brake cable off of the coilover as well. So there's a 12 mil, and those aren't ever really torqued on super tight. And then here is that brake line. I don't know what you guys can see. Now with everything disconnected from that, pick up the coilover, take the nut off the top. Should just drop right out. I'm gonna drop it out the front. Be mindful of all the cables. Yeah, so there's the front taken out. Now we're gonna do the back. Okay, so for the rear, we shouldn't have to disconnect the sway bar because of the style of how this is connected. And then there are two nuts up top. Those are 12 millimeter. Make sure if you're in the Northeast, spray those really good with some PV Blaster. All right. Should have the right size. I think this is a 17 back here. Yeah. There's that. Grab a 19.
So once I get these coilovers off, I do end up getting a secondary measurement. Unfortunately, I didn't have the correct size digital caliper to measure the front coilovers. So you guys are gonna need like a 10-inch digital caliper to measure the front coilover sleeve. And yeah, that's why I'm taking off the front sleeve here, just to record the measurement of what the front ride height was at with these 10K springs.
Yeah, I might end up clearancing this a bit more for the angle kit. Not a big deal. And as well, I could clearance it with it on the car and not worry about getting into the shocks, so that's cool. Check down here, I don't see any fluid, so that's good. And I think what I'm just gonna end up doing is taking this off, measuring here to here. We're at 67.08 millimeters. I don't think I'm not gonna need to move this, so just wanted to make a quick note of what that was at. We're actually probably not gonna be lowering the ride height today. I just want those springs to settle. We're gonna be riding a little bit higher than we would normally. So those first measurements that we did are gonna matter a lot more than the second measurement. This rear one you can measure a lot easier. You can measure from the bottom of this sleeve to the bottom of this damper. So that you can actually do on the car. All right, so I just kind of want to chime in here because I did a terrible job of explaining this at the shop, and just the camera angle was really bad. So got a little diagram here of a coilover. This is, at least BC style. So we've got your bottom sleeve here. This is where your adjustment comes from. This is your damper here. This threaded portion, these are your collars, and then your spring top hat adjuster. And then this cavity represents how much that damper can go in and out of that sleeve. This is the front, and this would be the rear style. The rear you can measure from this point to the bottom of the damper. Unfortunately, up front you have no way of doing that, and I don't have the correct size to measure from the top of the damper here down to the sleeve. You guys are gonna need probably a 10-inch or bigger caliper. I haven't measured it, but eventually, next time I do this kind of stuff, I will be getting a bigger caliper to measure from here to here. It's just nice to have two measurements to work off of. But yeah, that's basically what I'm saying here, is I couldn't measure from here to here very effectively. So I did want to measure this length here in case I ever did want to switch back to those 10K springs up front. Right, so what we're going to do is remove the knob here for the adjustment. Okay. And there should be a 17 mil nut here. And this spring's only preloaded about 5 millimeters, so you don't really need to worry about the spring tension or anything. Yeah. Cool. Cool. Checking this bearing up here. Sometimes these can go bad. This one feels tight still, not bad at all. So that's good. Then we can take our spring out. Now, this is a 10K spring. We're gonna go get the 12 and put that on. All right. Got our brand new springs. I'm sure I got the right length, 200. So same length spring.
Before we go and put this on though, let's get this preload adjustment cracked loose so that we can properly set our preload. This will not change our ride height. Spring rate will technically, this is where your ride height comes from, but we are gonna end up letting these springs settle and then matching ride height that we currently are at, those measurements we took earlier. So, those. All right. Now we'll put this on. Officially have 12K springs. Look at that. That's cool. There's that. Get this nut on here. So I think what we got to do here is actually loosen up the preload all the way. That's on there. Let spring loose. We're gonna mate this one up. And we're going for hand tight the first round. That's about as much as I can get it. All right, so what we're gonna do is take that second collar, butt it up against the other one. So we're gonna spin this until we get 1 spanner's worth of preload. Right there. And then cinch that adjustment up. So as far as preload goes, you're tightening this collar hand tight at first and then butting this one up against it. After that, you tighten this one until you can get 1 spanner in between these 2 collars. That's your preload adjustment. It's about 5mm, and do that on all 4 corners. There we go. Yeah, there's your spring rate swap, 12K spring. Pretty easy. And we're gonna do the rear now. Let's get this adjuster screw off of here. Okay, I need an Allen wrench. Oh wow, there was a lot of rubber in that. Okay, off with the old 5K spring. Definitely want to keep these as well because, you know, 5K is softer than what I'm putting in. Oh, it's not clipped in on the rear. That's interesting. There's usually like a C-clip holding that in on the front, but nothing on the back. I think just the top holds it in. Okay. And that'll be plenty of room. Hell yeah, brother. All right, let's just double check we got the right size. We did, 62/200. For you guys that don't know, 62 is the width of the spring, so 62mm.
200 is the length, so 200 millimeter, and the last two numbers are the spring rate, at least with BC. And let's make sure we don't forget to clean up these mating surfaces from all the dust and dirt. Don't really want to dig into that too much. There's that. There's on here. Get this preload again. Just until we can no longer. And that's spinning the whole thing. That's not what you want. Okay, so that's good enough for me. So I'm holding on to the shock. Yeah, so that's tight enough. There we go. That's enough preload. And we have swapped spring rates. So now all we gotta do is put them back in. Yeah, some of you guys might be wondering, like, why am I changing spring rates? The car bottoms out a lot. It's low, and I do like the look of it low. When I first started drifting, it was more about function. Now I'm trying to like get the car to look nice again. So my idea why I'm doing this and why I'm going up in spring rate, one is for the bottoming out in the rear, trying to stay as low as I am right now. And the other is really body roll. I think this is going to help out a lot. All right, so we've got all of the springs swapped over. I'm just gonna redo this front sway bar end link and call it a day. Now, the first measurement we are gonna try and match once the springs settle, and that is kind of the trick to getting this all kind of be seamless. I'm just gonna throw the wheels on and the strut bar in, then we'll lower this on the ground and see how much higher up it is. We're gonna have to drive it around and let it settle, and then we'll come back here, adjust the suspension again, we'll check our alignment and see how far off we are. So just going to get the wheels on and the strut bar real quick. All right, so that's done. So I am gonna update you guys with like how the car feels and drives and stuff. I do have a track day coming up like later in the month. Either stay tuned for that video, or if I've been holding on to this one, I'll include my thoughts into this video. But yeah, I've done a bunch of testing on the simulator with my Sim 370Z and stepping from 5K rear to 10K and going 6K rear to 12K front in the Sim is way better. The car is way snappier, so I'm really hoping that is what's going to happen with this thing. We will see. A couple other things I'm going to need to do, but yeah, we're going to get this on the ground. And at least in this video, we'll see where about how much the ride heights come up. So we'll take some measurements and figure that out.
you guys can see, we got a big old gap. There, you can see we're sitting up a lot higher than we used to, so I'm gonna take this thing for a drive for a couple days really, and let this settle in, and then we'll make our adjustments afterwards. So just leaving them alone, letting them settle, and then we'll adjust accordingly to whatever measurements we got before. But yeah. Alright, so been driving here and definitely noticed some differences just driving it on the road. The turn-in, like, you know, like quickly back and forth, like the car has a lot more turn-in now and it doesn't roll as much. So that's awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited to see what this feels like on a track, but it doesn't feel like crazy bumpy. So that's good, or too stiff. But we'll see how it feels pulling into the driveway. Oh, yeah, not bad. That's not bad. All right, cool. Not bad. It's been a few days. Changed out my front tires. These were getting down there. It's through, you can see cords on one of them. So got those changed out, did an oil change, and then now we're gonna drop this down. We're gonna measure where we are with ride height and then adjust accordingly to where we were before. Hopefully we won't have to adjust our alignment. We will be checking it, but we are gonna get very close. So any adjustments we do make are gonna be very minor. You're measuring off that same point, so. All right, driver's side front is coming out to 111.53 millimeter. Driver rear coming out to 103.37 millimeter. Passenger rear coming out to 102.16 millimeter. And last but not least, we got passenger front coming out to 108.78 millimeter. Do a quick double check. Yeah, pretty close. 108.9. Okay, so with those measurements, we're gonna get this back up in the air, take all the wheels off again, and we're going to base our adjustments off of those measurements. And we're gonna try and get our closest to what we had before. But yeah, let's get this thing up in the air. Alright, so just want to show you guys what I got going on here. Don't mind my bad handwriting, but I took measurements, those measurements that I took from the video, that's what I have. And I measured the differences, and we are matching that on the adjustment we're making at the collar. So right here, on the passenger side rear, we had a 22.16 millimeter difference. Then what we do is take our caliper and measure that same distance between here and the collar. Keeping in mind that this is a tapered collar, so you see that contact line? We're gonna be a couple mil off, but it'll get us close to our adjustment, and whatever we're gonna need to do after this first adjustment should be very minimal. As well, keeping in mind the motion ratio, here is probably greater, so whatever adjustment we have here is probably gonna be greater than what our desired outcome is gonna be. But we're gonna match that on all four corners, see where we're at, and then make our adjustments. All right, so we have made our first adjustment. We're gonna go around and measure everything, see how close we got. Driver's front, this looks lower to me, but I could be wrong. Where are we at? We're at 76.91. Driver rear, 78.9. Passenger rear, 74.8. Passenger front, 72.31. All right, so we are significantly lower in comparison to where we started. We are at 92.8 and 80 up front. I'm gonna write these numbers down and then we'll make another adjustment. All right, so I just wanna update you guys. So we are in the front, we're roughly 16 millimeters lower than we should be. So we're gonna raise the front up. The rear, we got really close. So the driver's rear is only 1 millimeter lower than it used to be. The passenger rear is 5.2 millimeters. So we're going to try and match these numbers exactly. And hopefully we don't have to do an alignment afterwards. I would love that, that'd be amazing. Adjustment 3 here, adjustment 4. All right, so after the fourth adjustment here, we're looking really good on the driver's side. We're within a millimeter variance. So on the passenger side, we are within a millimeter on the passenger rear. What I'm gonna end up doing is probably adjusting the passenger rear a little bit, just raise it up that slight bit. And then I do have a little bit more work to do on the passenger front. Keeping in mind when you adjust this side, it could throw off the other side. It has been this whole time. So I actually haven't adjusted the driver rear since our second adjustment, and you can see it was 1 mil here, 6.7, and then it was 0.2 mil. So yeah, gonna get to the final adjustment. Hopefully we are gonna get within like a 0.5 mil or even a 1/4 millimeter variance. That's what I'm really shooting for. All right, so potentially on my final adjustment here, there is some variance, but the adjustments that have been made are actually pretty favorable, I think. So as comparison before, again, sorry about my terrible handwriting. We had a difference of driver front to passenger front. We had a difference of around 4.6 millimeters, something like that. We've brought that down to a difference of 3 millimeter, which I am happy about. We are a little bit lower. The difference in the rear, passenger rear to driver rear, has also been increased by a little bit, which I am a fan of. So, as well as the front is only lowered 0.6 of a millimeter. So I think we're in enough of a variance where I am going to just go ahead, check the alignment. It should be very close. However, I am gonna need to check the alignment and see where we're at. Gonna drive it, let it settle first and all that. Probably take another round of measurements, but this should be where it's sitting. So if I do have to adjust it again, I guess I'll update you guys, but this should be as close as I can get it to where I'm not gonna really need to do much adjustment for the alignment. So, and realistically, this would be fine probably to run throughout the rest of the year. But we will confirm that when we check the alignment. So
But yeah, that is finished. All right, so next day, decided to take out this Z1 axle. I'll keep as a spare. Put in my eBay axle, so we got that. Did get the ride height all sorted yesterday, so today I'm going to be checking the alignment and making sure everything is good. So we're gonna, I think what I'll end up doing is probably dropping it down on the blocks, settle the suspension, check the alignment, probably not adjust it, and then take it for a drive, come back, make some more measurements, and align the car. And then hopefully we shouldn't have to make much changes. I am probably going to do a separate video for a four-wheel alignment. It's going to be everything excluding caster. So that's at least how I've been setting my car up. So I don't have any tools for caster adjustment yet, but what I've been doing is basically, every year, 2 years or whatever, I will get the front end aligned for caster, and then I end up just doing everything else myself for, a year or two, and, just check up on it. So, but yeah, right now I'm at like 5.8 degrees of caster, at least when I had last aligned it. I'm not going to align the caster, so I'm just going to be doing camber and toe adjustment on all four corners, and then should be mint. So, but yeah, I might end up getting a caster adjustment setup so I can actually show you guys how to do that, because it is something that is really, really expensive to get done. Any sort of race car alignment, anything like that, it is ridiculously expensive. So being able to do that yourself will save you a lot of money. I pay typically $200 for an alignment or more. So it depends on what needs to be done. If they want it to be, if you want to change the ride height or whatever, make sure you do it before you bring it in for an alignment, all of that. So, but yeah, we're going to do the alignment, and then I guess what I'm going to do is drive the car and then really give you guys my full impressions, at least on the road, what I think of it, because this has dropped about, 20 mil from the last time I had test driven it. So it's going to be different. So, but yeah, I'm excited. I know this spring rate change, at least in the simulator, helps out a lot. Just having, I play Live for Speed. So for people who haven't heard of that, that is a really old game. It's over 20 years old, but the tire model is still really good. So, but yeah, I got my car in that game, and when I swapped from 5K rear, 10K front to 6K rear, 12K front, the car in game was so much easier to drive on, like pretty much every track I took it on. So, and still didn't have any issues keeping up with people in the sim. So definitely like setting up cars. I'm kind of a setup junkie. I don't know about you guys, but with Assetto, stuff like that, I don't really like to leave the tunes alone. I know a lot of people just rock the stock tunes, but I really like messing with them and can get them to feel really different. So I don't know, maybe I'll make a kind of a dumbed down how to tune your cars video, at least from my understanding. All right, car is on the ground. Gonna take it for a test drive, let it settle a little bit more before we do the alignment, or before we check it. Hopefully we don't have to adjust too much. Oh yeah, and also I put some interior lights in the car. I think that's kind of cool. Maybe I'll do like a little video on that. I didn't record myself installing them, but I can kind of walk you over with what I did, so, and what I got. But yeah, gonna drive this car and see how it feels. All right, and that would be the end of the video. So
this outro is recorded after the drift day, and I just want to say the car handles way better now with the 6K springs in it. It is pretty much a night and day difference. It was on a very small course, so next video I'm going to be drifting at Palmer, Massachusetts, or Palmer Motorsports Park, I believe it's called. And that's going to be at a clean culture event. And yeah, the car was super snappy, and just overall, like, it felt like I had more grip for some reason, even though I swapped a stiffer spring out back. I also have a stiffer front now, so the spring rate is, in theory, it's upped evenly. You know, 5K, 10K was what I had before, and now I have 6K and 12K, and that's like the ratio is the same, but the front spring rate is, you know, double the change of the rear. And you can really feel that with the, you know, the way the car puts down power. It just feels like I can be on lock and just, you know, really mat it, and it'll just take it. So really feels good to have that change finally done. And I'm honestly really curious what's going to happen with the bigger courses, because that also in the sim was a big thing with the spring rate change. It made larger courses easier, so I might not have to do a final drive swap. We'll see. But yeah, I'm excited to try it out on a larger course at some point. Not sure if that, you know, we'll get around to that this year. Potentially might be able to get out to Lock City one more time and get on that back section. That would be sweet. But yeah, overall, I'm very excited with the change and how everything went. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and, you know, found some info out of it. If you find it helpful, you know, leave a comment. If you think I deserve it, give it a subscribe or whatever. And yeah, I hope to catch you in the next one. So have a nice night, day, wherever you are. Peace out.